hello, and welcome to Ticket to Live. How the heck is everyone doing? I hope that you say that you are doing great, fantastic, or that you are living the best life ever. And if not, why aren't you? Well, some people can't live the best life ever because they have done something in their life and they live with guilt. But we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. This is Henrie, and I thank you for taking some of your precious time to tune into Ticket to Life, a podcast where I talk about anything and everything. And if you have a story to share on the podcast, do not hesitate to share to ticket2life022@gmail.com. And I promise not to call you out by name. And of course, all the names are always changed to protect the innocent. If you have told me a story in the past, more than likely I have shared it with someone. It's kind of the thing is where I feel that you are not the only one going through something. Someone's always going through something, and it could possibly be the same identical thing. And if you're saying right now, no, there's no way people have the same problems I have. Well, believe it or not, yes, we do. Here, there, and you would never believe it. And your story may share may be able to help someone and how you got out of a certain lifestyle or how you got away from a certain relationship. So don't hesitate to send that email, and I promise I will make it sound great. Now, speaking of having a great day, today was a crazy morning. I have spent almost an hour trying to hook up my microphone. That's one of those frustrating things. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm on here. I'm here with you. And that's the important thing. I need to tell you two reminders, I guess, if you are a regular listener, and two new things if this is your first time listening. And that is, I am not a doctor or a therapist or a life coach. I am Henrie, and these are all my thoughts and my opinions that I am sharing with you. So bear with me with certain things. Sometimes people get offended by what I say, and sometimes people agree, and sometimes they don't. And you know what? That's okay. That really is okay. Summer is amongst us, and I need to let you know that my last podcast I did was on babysitting. And the reason I am bringing this up now before the guilt trip is because earlier in the year, I did make a podcast on babysitting, and it was called Babysitting and the Baby Moses Law. I felt like it was time to bring that up again, only because of the fact that a lot of parents are having to look for babysitters right now. And it is a tough time. And if you don't know what the Baby Moses Law is, go back to my podcast. It's earlier in the year. It's called Babysitting and Baby Moses Law. And listen to what that is and where, because some people might need that. Maybe not you, but someone might. And listen to how it could help you or help someone else with a child. But anyway, about babysitting, it's just something I wanted to remind you that when you're looking, just be careful what you're looking for and make sure these people are certified. And anyway, so that's why if you are a listener and saying, hey, she's talked about babysitting before. Yes, I have earlier in the year. Now, again, these are all my opinions. So here's another opinion. So the Kansas City chief kicker, Harrison Butker, gave a commencement speech and expressing his opinions. Now, remember, these are all his opinions because we all have opinions. We may not, again, like the opinions that some people have, but that's just the way it is, people. We are thankful enough to be able to express ourselves and hopefully not get bent out of shape because a lot of people don't like to hear opinions. But he was expressing his opinion, and some people got, again, bent out of shape. And I have to say, some people need to lighten up. They really do. Now, if he had said something about women, because at one point he says he is speaking to the female graduates and then he's speaking to the male graduates, just something about that. And had he said something like all women need to be at home and be barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen, well, maybe a little bit of people would have been upset, including myself. But what he said, I'm not saying it by quoting him because this is what I've read and what I'm trying to remember offhand. But it was something like, It is you women who have the most diabolical lies told to you. Now, he went on saying this speech, but he got choked up because he was talking about his wife in here and saying, they met in, I think, middle school or high school and been together. And the life they created was just wonderful. She wanted a career, but guess what? She said, I do. And she gave up that because she wanted to be at home when they started a family. Now, you don't hear that quite often anymore, but he went on to say, something like, some of you may go and lead careers, successful careers out in the world. But I would venture to guess that most of you are excited about getting married and having children that you will bring into this world. So him stating that, a lot of people got upset. So again, parenting is just, it's amazing. It's a lot of work. So stating this, here's my question to this. Why can everyone else say what they believe in and what they want to be and dress the way they want to be and be whoever they want to be and change their gender, and people have to accept that? And he mentions homemaker and many people freaked out. I accept anyone for anything they believe. But everyone needs to accept people for who they are and what they are. Again, I tell you, there is being a stay-at-home mom or a dad. It will be one of the hardest jobs ever, but yet it is very rewarding. So to those listening and don't agree with me, FYI, these are my thoughts and my opinions. But anyway, the main thing is just be kind. You don't have to agree with everyone in the universe, but guess what? You don't need to start an argument over it either. Somebody doesn't accept your opinions, but you're supposed to accept theirs, just walk away. It's really not worth that 5 minutes or 10 minutes of bickering. Life is too short, people. So, do you know how many parents have guilt that they have to leave their children or some child or at daycare? Basically, that was what I'm trying to get out. They're having to leave their kids at daycare during the week, 5 days a week. Again, your kids don't spend that much time with you if you are a full-time worker. And I'm not knocking it because we all need to bring, help with feeding them and the necessities and clothing them. But I know that we all do, again, have to work. But in the world where we want more and more, I'm not sure why we keep wanting more and more in our lives, but we do, including me sometimes, not anymore. But I know when I was younger, I did. But if we could just cut back and to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and spend that quality time with our kids, our family. Kids don't know what they don't have until someone brings it up. Parents, grandparents feel the guilt that they don't have something, but they know all the other kids have, so they have to give it to them. Kids haven't asked for it. Now, sometimes, of course. So I heard on a TV interview, they were interviewing kids, like maybe 6th grade through middle school. I don't know. Let's say 11 through 14, 15. And they asked these kids, what would they like the most? Some said a new phone. Some said money. Some said clothes. But the majority said that they really wish they had more time with family, with their parents. They want that. And parents feel guilty because they're working. But you got to work. I mean, you do. But that time you spend with your kids, you need to give them all the attention you can possibly give them. Put the phones down. And when your children come to you and just say, I just need to talk, or they just start randomly talking about anything, listen. Give them your attention. Kids need to be noticed. They want to be noticed by their parents. They want to feel that unconditional love, that you are going to love them no matter what. And discipline is showing them that you care. And I don't mean hitting them, putting them in a dark room. That's abuse. And if you know of anyone to do that, you make sure you report that. It's showing them that you want them to make good decisions, good choices in life. I know a few parents, a few adults that still need discipline. Guilt comes from many things in our life. What have you done? Have you done something in your past and it still eats up at you? I do. I mean, I remember certain things, and every so often I'll think about it. It's like, oh, how could I have done that? How could I have said that? Or have you allowed something or someone else's life and you in their life make you feel guilty of not letting them know you know something? How many of you have known someone who has cheated on their spouse and they didn't say anything? Instead, they just told you about it. Well, I have. Only because it was really none of my business to break up a marriage. I didn't say anything. But letting their spouse know, it sure is a hard thing, knowing that they are being made a fool of by the spouse. And of course, when the person tells you that they are cheating, then you're like either aghast, like, what are you doing? Then that's when they start belittling their spouse. Like, he doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. But of course, the person that tells you that they're cheating, then they have made it your business, in my opinion. You're in part of their business because they shared that. So what do? Do you tell the parent? The spouse? Or even kids. I mean, if kids share something with you. Now, if kids share something with you, like a friend of a friend, and they feel like they can speak to you, more than likely something, and it's dangerous, you have to tell the parent. Kid might not ever trust you again, but parents need to know these things. I found it best not to say anything when I found out. Several people I've known that have had a little fling, but I will say, shame on them. And when the fling they're having, and they just live with it. They're living with no guilt. But after the fact, do they have guilt? Some do. And I guess that's their punishment enough for some, and then for others, they could care less. So you go figure. I would have guilt. Am I being judgy? Yeah, I guess I am. Because we know right from wrong. And if we know right from wrong, we need to teach that to our kids. Some people have guilt once in a blue moon about how they hurt someone with words, mentally or physically. I've done things that were hurtful to others, but basically it's my mouth, not physically. And sometimes I think about it. Something I've said, something I've done and thought, and ouch. When I think about it, I'm thinking, what was I thinking? Some people have been cruel to children, women, cruel to men, cruel to small animals. And I will admit that I feel guilt. When we have the power as humans to end a pet's life. And I know, even when you know it's the best thing because they are ill or aged, could you even imagine having that power with humans? Oh, well, my mom's really old. I think, it's time to put her down. That's awful. Now, could you even imagine having that power? Now, there was a man named Dr. Kevorkian. I'm not sure if all of you will know who he is or have ever heard of him. But this guy thought he had the power, or the other name he did have was Dr. Death. And he would help some ill people that were sick commit suicide by injecting fatal meds in the so-called machine that he had. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure it was an IV of some sort. Well, he went to prison, and where is he now? He's dead. So I wonder if he ever felt guilt before he died. Did he feel guilt for doing that? Do you have guilt? We all have guilt for something when you start thinking back. But if you are living with guilt from something in your past, ask God for forgiveness. But you got to mean it. Just don't say, oh, God, please forgive me and I need to move on with my life. Mean it from your heart. Mean it. Because you will be able to move on when you pray and ask for forgiveness. And sometimes it may pop back in your mind. And you have to think again, dear Heavenly Father, please get this out of my mind. I have asked for forgiveness. Living with guilt is not a good thing. And we have all sinned. We have all done something in the past. Don't say I haven't, because I am sure you are just kidding yourself. So do you have guilt from something in the past? If so, it's time to live in the now. Live in right now. Now, did you know that living with guilt can cause illness? Yes, mental illness. And you're saying, how? Because our mind is amazing. Sometimes our minds don't let us let go of certain things. It can cause anxiety, OCD, depression, and some will feel as though they deserved happiness because of a mistake we might have made. I deserve happiness. I did that, but I've already asked for forgiveness. No. Back in your mind, when you start thinking, you don't want to live in the past, first of all. It's really hard not to think of certain horrible things you may have done or someone did to you. You've got to learn to let those go. And I have shared with you, I have shared with you before that I really don't worry about things. I don't know why. And I guess because I do know deep down inside life is out of my control. Things happen. I did a podcast a few weeks ago about dark clouds and how some people always seem to have a dark cloud, because the beginning of this year has been kind of crazy for my family. But I may have gotten a little down. I may have gotten a little sad, but I knew that I don't have a dark cloud. What happened was out of my control. It was just life, and things do just happen in life. But if you can control doing something that you know you might be guilty of later, then you do have to ask God for forgiveness. It will make you feel so much better. And in my opinion, life is just it's a learning process. Even when you're 66 or older, life is a learning process that we will be learning something new about our mistakes of ours or others for the rest of our lives. And don't we learn from mistakes? Yes, we do. I want you to know that it is time to forgive and forget and move on. Because again, life is short. Don't live with that guilt. Now, if you have done a heinous crime, and I mean murder, and I don't know, you find out that there are people who have killed, and there was a man, I don't remember the case, but he killed a girl like 30 years ago, and they just found him, and he's like 70 or 80 years old. He has lived with that all his life, that he killed someone. But guess what? They caught up with him. He may have been living a better life, but they caught up with him. If you know of someone who has done a horrible crime, don't hesitate to report them. And don't feel guilt. Because there's evil in the world. We all know that. We see it or hear it just about every day. Get away from the news. Get away from the political news. It's not good for you. That'll give you anxiety. It really will. And again, I hope that you can take time for yourself. Time for yourself and for your family. And I know you want to give your kids the world. But how are they going to learn to want things for themselves or do things for themselves if you're always giving them? Give them chores. Give them, yes, I said chores. Simple things. Getting the trash together. I mean, these are things that you will be so appreciative later. I have a friend who Her daughter's in her 40s, and she told me she did her kids a disservice when they went off to college. She used to do everything for them. And she told me I did everything. Although I felt like I did everything for my kids. But at the age of 14, or 13, I guess once they were in middle school, I shipped them off to start doing their own laundry and start taking some responsibility. So when they went to college, both my son and daughter knew how to do laundry. Something that simple. Well, my friend told me that she did everything for her daughter and her son, made their beds up, did this, did that. And she said that when her daughter went off to college, her daughter had to call her. She goes, "How do I do my laundry?" Now, that is a disservice. And she said, I felt so guilty that I didn't teach them simple life skills, like how to cook something simple, spaghetti, for gosh sakes, just something. Of course, both her kids are very successful now, and they're doing great. And guess what? They do all their own laundry. So I'm just, it's just simple things in life. And I really do hope you can bond with your kids, bond with your family members, your brothers, your sisters. Oh, you're not talking to them, and because they said something, just pick up the phone. And if they don't want to talk to you, at least you know you tried. Again, I hope you can take time for yourself. And if you have a family, I hope that you can take time or make the time. You have to make the time. And don't say, I don't have time to make the time. Yes, you can make time. If you can pick up your phone and be on social media for 4 hours a day throughout the day, look at your weekly activity, then you can make time every day. I don't care if it's just 15 minutes, just sit with your kids. So, I hope that you will be happy to see the decisions you can make. And decisions you have made to move on will make you much happier when you can get rid of that guilt. And you will find peace. You will feel so much more peaceful. So be patient and be kind. And ask the good Lord for forgiveness. God is always there listening. I like to say that He's a good therapist. If you need to talk to the Lord, listen. He will listen. And guess what? He's not going to criticize you. He's just going to listen, and you're going to feel so much better. Lay on the couch if it's going to make you feel good, and pretend He's in the room with you. Actually, He probably is. So this will help you through life, and ask daily, but most of all, give thanks for what you have. I do want to do a shout out. I would like to thank all my listeners in Texas, and for the new listeners, I am in Texas. The podcast has been going. This is my 3rd season. I appreciate it. I am also on the radio in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM. I will be on the radio until the end of December. I'm not sure about renewing the contract or not, but I'm on the air every Thursday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. So if you're bored, and usually it's just the podcast you're listening to, but they get it earlier, or they may get it later, or it may be a different one. So you can join me if you're in Atlanta. Thank you for listening, and I want to thank all my listeners. But again, I'd like to thank all the cities in Texas. I have 43 cities that listen to me. Not all of them are regular listeners, but quite a few of them are. So I would like to thank all of you so much for listening. I would also like to tell you that I hope you have a wonderful summer with your family. If you don't have a family, do something for yourself, because you are so important. And sometimes we don't take time for ourselves. If you like to read, then I recommend you read, because reading to me it takes you away from everything it's like going to the movies. You read and it takes you away from everything, because you're so, and hopefully you find a good author to read. I do like, Colleen Hoover. She makes some really good books. She's more of as she writes about love stories, and I'm not really a love story type of person. I'm all about crime and solving the crime. But anyway, that's my suggestion for your summer. And I did have something else to share with you. Okay, my husband and I just went to Vegas, and it is amazing, and I'm so thankful that Vegas is doing this, because human trafficking, as we all know, is a major crime here in the U.S. And just to let you know, most of the restrooms in Vegas. I took a bunch of pictures. I'll have to post those on Instagram. Just different casinos, different resorts, different the airport. They all have it. It used to just be at the airport, but now I'm so happy that they are actually posting a helpline in all the bathroom stalls. So I wish all states would do this because human trafficking is everywhere. Even, Texas, the border states are the prime states where human trafficking, trafficking, well, you know what I'm trying to say, happens. So if you know of someone that could be in trouble, again, don't hesitate to call. If you see something, we're all about the law. If you see something that you are suspicious of, you've got to report these crimes. And that's including anything because if not, you will feel guilt when you find out something later. You will feel that guilt, and you will not want to live with that guilt because you know that you could have prevented that. Well, now I'm sounding like a mom, which I am, and a grandmother. I'm not scolding you. I'm just telling you, do the right thing. It is hard to make right choices sometimes as an adult. It's easier to turn our heads and pretend we see nothing, close our eyes around us. And because we see things and we're just like, oh, I don't want to get involved. But there are so many numbers that you can call now, and you're anonymous. Nobody wants to know who you are. So instead of doing something or not doing something because you're going to, don't want to get in trouble or let them know, then, do the right thing. So anyway, this is my take on guilt. And I hope that I've helped some of you who are living with guilt. And I hope that you're able to find peace with yourself, because we have all made mistakes. You are not the only one in the universe who has done something wrong, and you can't beat yourself up because life is too short, and you'll be miserable. You'll be literally so miserable. So if you have done something in your past, ask God for forgiveness. He will listen. And I want to say thank you again to everyone. This is Henrie with Ticket to Life, and I can't wait to see you next time. Most importantly, please go find your blessings because they are right in front of you. Until next week, thanks for listening.